So, police are genociding black people? More racist rhetoric coming up. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Common Sense, Logic, and Reason. And as always, I want to say thank y'all for joining me today. So, police officers genociding black folk is an example of fictitious notion, something that many blacks believe as just simply not true. And most blacks have just been simply brainwashed to believe this narrative based off of being told this by other black people and having the media hype this narrative up. You know, we hear stories, constantly hear about Trayvon Martin, those cases, even though he wasn't killed by a police officer, or Tamir Rice, Eric Gardner, Alton Sterling, Freddie Gray. We'll hear these stories, these cases constantly hyped up in the media. And black folk will get and see this and believe it. And this is exactly what the media does, and that's the whole purpose of it. But they'll hype these particular cases up and act as if this is something that's always going on, and police officers are constantly doing this to black people, even though if you actually take all of those cases, it's probably over a 12-year span, each and every one of those cases. So it's very rare for police officers to wrongfully kill a black person. Now, again, not only that the evidence not prove or show that police officers are hunting black people, but the evidence show that police officers are not actually hunting black people in mass and genociding black people. So let's go over the data. Now, there are about 45 million black people in the United States of America. And if it wasn't for abortion and black on black murder, it would easily be twice that. But, you think that Black Lives Matter, something Black Lives Matter will be concerned about, but then if you look at the number of police officers in the United States of America, there are about 900,000 or so police officers in America. And there are about, on average every year, there's about 190 black people killed by police officers annually. So looking at those numbers, that doesn't sound like a genocide. 190 black people killed by police officers every year annually. That's not a genocide. That's not even remotely close to being a genocide or hunting black people in mass. But there are a lot of black people who believe this, and then you also consider the fact that you have black folks, a lot of these black people, these young black males, so not only they're committing mass crime, but they're committing more murders than the other 87% of the population, and more violent crime than the other 87% of the population. So if police officers really truly were out here hunting black people in mass, they would at least, I would say bare minimum, easily could be 3,000 blacks killed by police officers. If they're really truly were out here hunting black people, looking to try to kill a black person, they have a lot of opportunity when you consider all the crime that we as black people commit. And again, it's really a small segment of the population, is really young black males that are really doing the majority of it. Then, if we want to go deeper, we want to take this information even deeper. If you look at the number of people killed by cops annually in the country every year, it's something like about 1,000. There are about 1,000 people every year annually killed by the cops. And that's 190 black people. So police officers are killing a lot more than just black people. I know there are a lot of people out there who believe this narrative that police officers are only hunting and killing blacks. And if you tell a black person that there are more white people killed by cops than black people, a lot of them would just simply won't believe it, because they never hear this in the media. They never hear these stats. But yeah, black people represents less than 10% of all people killed by cops. But we make up 13% of the population. So again, that's not hunting anyone in mass. Well, actually, I got those numbers wrong. It's actually more than 10%, because 10% would be 100. So it's 190. That's more like 20%. However, when you consider the rate in which black people commit crime, I would say that's very low. But if you look at the 1,000 or so people killed by cops every year, only about 10% of the time are even questionable. So 90% of the cases is just completely open and shut case the police were right. So that's roughly about 100 times a year in which police officers questionably kills a person in general. And for black people, if you look at the 190 blacks killed by police officers, then that's roughly about 19 black people every year that are questionably killed by police officers. Again, it's a very small percentage compared to the total number of blacks killed that are considered open and shut case. And then if we want to take it even further, we want to go even further, when those cases are investigated, the questionable cases by police officers, when they're investigated, about 55 to 60% of the time, the police officers are found to be innocent in the case. Which means that you chop that in half, and again, most of those cases, half the time, or a little bit more than half the time, the police officers again are found not guilty. So that leaves only 5% of the time that police officers are guilty of killing someone. So if we take that for black people, then you take the 19 times that a black person on average in which a black person is questionably killed by a police officer, and you're looking at 9? So 9 times a year, a black person is questionably killed by a police officer, and somehow that's a genocide, that police officers are hunting black people in mass. That's absolutely ridiculous when you look at the facts. I mean, if police officers are hunting blacks in mass, as they say, then they suck at hunting. Police officers absolutely suck at hunting. I mean, if we were on the island somewhere, a deserted island, like the TV show Lost, and we need to send people out to hunt, to find food, to feed the other people on the island, we won't be sending the police officers because we started that. The way they suck at hunting. But like I say, this is evidence in the data that completely disproves this idea, this fictitious notion that police officers are out here genociding black people and hunting black people in mass. But there are blacks out here still believe this, and you got blacks out here who promote this because, like I say, it's just a lot of these race hustlers who make their money off of hyping and hustling the race, such as Dr. Umar Johnson. All these race hustlers out here, they have to hype it and hustle it because that's their livelihood. But police officers are not remote out here hunting black people in mass, not remotely. That's just a flat out lie. Anyway, y'all, if you ever hear this ideal notion that police officers are genociding black people in America, well, now you know, and knowing it's after battle. And as always, y'all, until next time.